Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!
So we had a lot of unhappy people, and this even hasn't been confirmed yet, but it looks like next year's Super Bowl act may have been revealed a bit early, so it looks like Maroon 5 may be playing the Super Bowl next year, and a lot of fans online are not happy, so it hasn't even been officially announced, but that hasn't stopped the misery over Maroon 5 possibly headlining the Super Bowl halftime show in Atlanta actually next year it would be. So Variety reports that, citing multiple sources, the band is set to be the big act for NFL's biggest game set for February 3rd, and the NFL had to release a statement. They said it's a Super Bowl tradition to speculate about performers for the Pepsi halftime show. A league rep said, "We are continuing to work with the longtime sponsors Pepsi on our plans, but do not have any announcements to make on what will be another epic show." But it was enough for Twitter to work itself into a tizzy. People wondered why in Atlanta, where, to quote an Uber producer Jermaine Dupri's song "Welcome to Atlanta," all the players play, a choice with local ties hasn't been made. So Atlanta is home to Outkast, T.I., Future, Ludacris, Usher, etc. And Maroon 5 gets to play the damn Super Bowl, tweeted sports analyst Jake Roos. And after all that, Atlanta is the city that birthed Southern fried hip-hop. Now, a lot of people are wondering, why isn't Guns N' Roses playing the Super Bowl? And some people are speculating that they've been asked in the past. I don't believe that they have, unless it's been in the last 2 years or so. But I remember the days of the Super Bowl, when Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers would play it, Aerosmith would play it, U2 would play it, Bruce Springsteen played it, and now the acts are just horrible. I feel like they're purposely trying to get these pop acts so that women will watch the Super Bowl, because most of the demographics are probably male-dominated, I'm sure. And it's kind of funny, too, like Adam Levine tries to pretend he's like a rock and roller, but like every year the VMAs are on, he always goes on Twitter and blasts it, but he's part of the whole problem, and he's part of that whole top 40 stuff you hear on radio these days. So Slash was interviewed on the Maron podcast about a week or two ago, and I've summarized everything he said on the podcast, and it was a pretty interesting podcast. So Marc's he doesn't really know that much about Guns N' Roses, and it was pretty apparent from the interview, but he talked about seeing Slash at the Whiskey A Go-Go back in early September and how awesome it was. Marc also said that Rocket Queen was one of his favorite Guns N' Roses songs, and Slash did talk a bit about what guitars he used on the Living the Dream album. He said he once got pneumonia, and that helped him quit smoking. Slash said he got sick when he saw Cher with his wife in Vegas about 9 years ago or so, and he kept going outside to take a smoke, and the next day he had pneumonia. So Slash said he also talked about using a nicotine patch, and it's stuff called snus, which is supposed to, I guess, help you quit smoking, and now he's using gum and lozenges. Slash also said when he was touring Europe years ago, there were smoking bans that were ridiculous, and Slash said he got fined for smoking on stage, but he came up with excuses to always get out of it. He also talked about his first electric guitar when he was a kid. It was a Memphis Les Paul copy in 1980. It had one string, so Slash learned one-string riffs. He also talked about his mom, who passed away from lung cancer and was a smoker. He also said when he saw Cher, it was almost unbearable for him, and he said he only went to see Cher because of his ex-wife went, and the friends wanted to go see her and drag him along. Slash said his mom used to design costumes for David Bowie, Cher, Flip Wilson, and John Lennon, and he was asked whether he was Jewish or not. He said he's not Jewish, but he's in the book of famous Jewish people. Slash talked a bit about his dad, who of course designed album covers for famous musicians and bands. Slash talked a bit about Frank Zappa, how Frank Zappa used to live near him as a kid. He talked about Frank Zappa having a giant lake with swans at his house. He talked a bit about the Troubadour. He said back in the day the Troubadour wasn't really a hard rocking venue. He said he remembers when he was a kid, Elton John played the venue, and that was a really big deal. He also said that Joe Walsh of the Eagles was one of his favorite guitar players of all time, and they know each other really well through their sobriety. Slash once revealed that he went to a wedding recently and someone asked him to do a bump of coke, which he took him by surprise. Slash talked a bit about his dad and what his philosophy was like about raising kids, and his parents' philosophy was to really treat the kids like adults, so Slash got a lot of freedom when he was younger. He also talked about he did a kid's book once with Joni Mitchell where he drew the pictures and she wrote the story. However, it never came out. And Slash talked a bit about Keith Richards and said he has the best dry weight of any of the people he knew. He talked about meeting Keith Richards when he was 13 at Seymour Cassell's house. He also talked about how he got his name Slash, which was of course from Seymour Cassell. Slash talked a bit about fitting in a public school and how there was really no one group that he could identify with or gravitate towards. He did mention Steven Adler a bit and how he met Steven and how Adler got him into playing guitar. And he referenced his first guitar teacher named Robert, who's apparently still alive, and Slash said he talks to every now and then. And he talked about a few great guitar teams in rock and roll, including Aerosmith's and the Stones. Slash did briefly talk about Izzy and how things worked great with him. Slash said Izzy is a mix of Keith Richards and Johnny Thunders. And Slash did talk about the different bands that he was in before Guns N' Roses formed. He talked a bit about the Hell Tour in 1985. Slash revealed that he loves the movie The Decline of the Western Civilization. He also talked about the members of Guns N' Roses and how they hated the hair metal scene in LA in the 80s. Slash revealed that Rocket Queen was a song that Steven Duff and himself came up with before Guns N' Roses when they were in the band The Road Crew. Slash also said the catalyst for Guns N' Roses splitting up was the business and management issues. It was about playing people against each other. Slash said it's not really worth trying to explain what caused Guns N' Roses to split up exactly. He did talk about how much culture shock he went through when Appetite for Destruction came out and it took off. He said it was like becoming famous overnight. He also talked a bit about loving blues records like the Rolling Stones did, called Blue and Lonesome, which recently came out. And he revealed that Guns N' Roses are not in the studio and everything went well on the road. Slash said it was a miraculous couple of years. He said playing on stage with Axl and Duff right now doesn't feel like the past, but still feels really cool. Slash did talk a bit about Michael Jackson working with him. He said playing with Michael Jackson was great. And he said that he met Michael Jackson when he was with Brooke Shields and she really wasn't very friendly towards him. Slash did mention Eddie Van Halen and said he talked to him recently and that he's doing good. And Slash talked a bit about collaborating with Carole King and how he collaborated with her because of Teddy Zigzag Andreatis, who we interviewed on our channel because Teddy said Teddy played with Carole before Slash ended up collaborating with her. And he talked a bit about horror movies he produces. He said in 2013 he did the movie There's Nothing Left to Fear, which had a lot of production issues, he said. He said he's got 4 movies that have closed deals currently. And he talked a bit about his lifestyle. He said he goes to the gym to stay up with his lifestyle. And he said that he loves Marc Maron and Glow. He said his girlfriend, Megan Hodges, got him into it. So Slash gave an interview recently to Revolver magazine where he gave a pretty in-depth interview. He discussed Guns N' Roses, his new album, Living the Dream, and of course Lemmy from Motorhead. And he was asked about the Appetite for Destruction box set. And they asked him, was there anything you found while putting it together that surprised you? He said there was some stuff from the Marquee in London of '87. I never actually heard it until just recently. We recorded the debut album. It hadn't even come out yet. So the Marquee shows were played in June of '87, which was 2 months before Appetite came out. So he said another one of the things that was really cool was a song called Shadow of Your Love that we used to play in 1985. It was one of the earliest songs that we played together. It was part of the set back then, and as the Appetite lineup started writing songs, it got phased out of the set. We didn't play it again for a long time. We went into the studio with Mike Klink to see what it would sound like, and that was a song we did with him. That was a test track. We didn't put it on Appetite, so it floundered all these years. To go and remix and master that and then release it after all this time for me, it was like, wow, this is a trip. It got a certain energy to it, and you definitely get the spirit of the band from way back then. Slash also joked about the price of the box set, the Locked and Loaded box set. So he was first asked, how did Guns go about creating the massive box set for Appetite for Destruction? He said the box set was for the 30th anniversary. We wanted to put everything in there that we were aware of. There was some stuff that we had in the can that no one has ever heard, plus some live stuff and different things that the band has done, and put it in this one package. It was fun to get all this stuff together. It was cool to sit there and remaster it and hear the stuff again for what's been years and years. And he was asked about the full-size box set. They said the full-size box set isn't just music, but all the artwork, jewelry, and more. He said, yeah, he laughed. A lot of people were complaining about the price of it, but there's so much stuff in there, and the box itself is this wood thing that has that's hand-done in leather. You can get all the material in a less grandiose package. It's really cool. For me personally, it was a cathartic to get that stuff out. We had an interview with Myles Kennedy where he talked about how Slash told him he'd want to pass away. So he said a lot of times in this industry, it's interesting to find people who are in it, but sometimes you wonder what their motivation is. He said, Slash is somebody I know who's in it for the music. I don't know too many people who want to play as much as he does. He also said it's funny, he actually made a comment one day. We were talking about American blues legend B.B. King, who had recently passed away. He made a comment about how B.B. had been on the road ultimately until his last day. He was in a tour bus, and Slash made a comment saying, that's going to be me someday, and I said, yeah, I can see that. You'll be out there well into your twilight years. He just needs to do it, and I kind of feel the same way. I can't imagine ever retiring because music is oxygen to me. So that does it for today's news, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed that video, and be sure to subscribe for the latest and greatest Guns N' Roses news and some true stories and documentaries if you guys love Guns N' Roses. And go check us out on GNRCentral.com for the latest and greatest Guns N' Roses news. Take care.